Hello everyone, my name is John Michael Bushman and welcome back to a Pauper overview of Murders at Karlov Manor. Is it Karlov or Markov? I'm not sure, I don't quite remember. I just know that it's the latest set. It's basically Ravnica. What happens if Clue takes place in Ravnica? Somebody was murdered. Wait, no, yes, it is Karlov because Teysa was killed. Oh no, spoiler alert. Never parlay near high windows indeed. But this will be the proper overview, and I have not heard so much hub about the comments in this set, which means we are probably mark safe from something in here completely upending the entire Pauper format. But again, I am always wrong when it comes to these things, but I love talking about the Pauper format. It's my favorite 60 card format in Magic the Gathering, so we're just gonna step right into it. Starting with Auspicious Arrival, a 2-mana instant where target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Investigate. So tokens, there are a lot of them in this set. um, there are a lot of tokens in this set, and this is one of them. And here we see on Auspicious Arrival, it's a story spotlight card where it shows our protagonist detective, Proft, just doing his thing. Proft brushed past the guards and introduced himself as the great detective Proft without a hint of irony, then identified the culprit within minutes. That is. Excuse me. That is a way to describe our good detective right then and there. But I don't see this seeing play at all. It would probably be good in EDH as a way to give feather decks some card draw, but they already have enough of that in with their one drop slot instead. So this is definitely something more for limited. Next, we have Defenestrated Phantom. Again, that word used twice now by Wizards of the Coast because defenestration means killing somebody by throwing them out the window. And this 6-mana 4/3 with flying is definitely curve filler. It's not a curve topper. No, this is a card that you get only if you don't have anything else to get. But it does introduce a new mechanic for that is introduced in this set, which is Disguise, which is basically morph with upside because it's now a 2/2 creature with ward 2, and that is insane value. Like, that is insane. A 2/2 for 3 and then has ward 2 is insane, but on its face it's not that good. And I wish I could say more about this card, but no, this is definitely just curve filler in your draft environment. But we're gonna move on to the next one. We have Due Diligence, a 3-mana enchantment aura, where if it enters the battlefield, target creature you control other than enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance. Otherwise, enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance. So this is a +4/+4, which is insane. Um, I believe the reason why there are so many auras in this deck is because the new Feather cares about having, well, not just instants and sorceries, but also non-creature spells targeting a single creature, and then it will Zada it around the board. So this will definitely go in that deck. So that is insane. This is an insane amount of value onto a common, but I don't think I will see this on the battlefield anywhere in Pauper. Definitely something to consider in EDH, but otherwise, no. Same thing with the next one, which is Griffknot Tracker, a 4-mana 3/2 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. You can have that effect on Ferry Macabre for far simpler cost by just discarding that card. So no one Griffknot Tracker. Let's move on to the next one, which is Hazda Vigilante, a 5-mana 4/4. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control with power 2 or less. Call the Boros if you want. While they figure out if they have enough people to send a patrol, I'll be clobbering the low lives who robbed you. That is a way to control crime around Ravnica, if you can even call it that. But there are better ways to do that. But no, this is definitely more curve filler for your draft deck, and I don't see this seeing play anywhere in the 60 card formats. Up next, we have Inside Source, a 3 mana 1/1 human citizen. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. And then 3 tap at target detective you control, gains +2/+0 and vigilance at the end of turn, gain only as the sorcery. That is far too clunky, although this is 3 power spread across 2 bodies, so that is something, but you could do better than this. Come on, you can do better than this. You can do better. We can do way better than this. But the next card, Makeshift Binding, is something to consider. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. You gain 2 life. So this is Oblivion Ring with small upside. And this shows the, well, if you haven't already read the stories by now, one of the sisters in the Trostani hive mind is the murderer. But why did they murder? Well, I haven't read the stories at all. I was already spoiled by my friends, and apparently Oba, one of the sisters, is the culprit. I don't know how it got to that point, but here we see Kaya doing her thing alongside a few other Selesnians, and I believe this is Tesa. Yeah, she's dead by this point, and they are capturing Oba. So there's that. But apart from the mechanical aspects of this card, really good. It's just Oblivion Ring with upside. What more could you want? Next, we have Make Your Move, a 3 mana instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. Listen, that other instant spell that also destroys a creature with power 4 or greater is seeing a lot of play in Pauper, hell, even in 60 card formats. A 3 mana one that can also destroy an artifact or enchantment. This is going to see a lot of I can see this seeing sideboard play, but how widespread it is, I have no idea. But definitely keep an eye out for these 2 cards right here. Next, we have Market Watch Phantom, a 2 mana 2/2, so a grizzly bear. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, it gains flying until end of turn. So that's really good. Definitely a high pick in your draft deck, but in 60 card formats, there's definitely something more. You can do more with this. I'm pretty sure. Or rather, you can do more than this. There are better ways to go about it, but this is definitely a good pick in your draft deck. Next, we have Museum Nightwatch, a 4 mana 3/2. When it dies, create a 2/2 detective token, and it has disguise. So, and it also has a very cheap disguise cost, which is only 2 mana. But you're essentially paying what? 5 mana for a 3/2. Just no. Even as a curve filler, I mean, this is decent, but otherwise, no. Next is probably the only card that I know got a lot of hub, Novice Inspector. So we finally have Thraben Inspector copies 5 to 8. And either that or he will completely replace Thraben Inspector because it has 1 more toughness. So there's that. And this guy will definitely see play. I mean, granted, again, I am bad at analyzing the competitive viability of a lot of these Pauper cards, but this guy, he will either completely replace Thraben Inspector or he will be running alongside her. And those 2 inspectors are going to, search for some clues around the city and hopefully find the reason why Boros decks in Pauper are still hanging on to this day. Next, we have On the Job, a 4 mana instant where creatures get +2/+1 until end of turn, and then you investigate. This is just bad. This is just bad. We're gonna move on to the next one here. Like a Seasoned Consultant, a 2 mana 1/3. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, it gets +2/+0. So it becomes a 2 mana 3/3, but you need to have Battalion active, and that is something. So. I believe there are ways, at least in this format, where, or rather in draft format, where you could have multiple creatures all at once. And I can definitely see her being in that draft deck, but in 60 card formats, probably not so much. Next, we have Behind the Mask, a 1 mana instant where as an initial cost cast a spell, you may collect evidence 6. So this is another new mechanic here in Borders at Karlov Manor. Yes, I'm pretty sure this is Karlov Manor, not Markov Manor, because MKM is the shorthand for the set. So I'm pretty sure it's Karlov Manor. This card, I'm reading it right now, and this is an insane form of removal. Because, granted, if you don't collect evidence, you can buff up a creature to base power and toughness 4-3, which is already amazing in and of itself. But if you collected evidence, it will instead have base power and toughness 1-1. So you can use this against your opponent, or you can use it for your own creatures, as long as you don't collect evidence. So we finally have a Pauper legal scale up. We finally have a Pauper legal scale up. So Infect players, rejoice! You will definitely run maybe, I would run 4 copies of this, if at all possible. This is an insane card for Pauper Infect, and I can honestly see this seeing play somewhere. But you don't even need to collect evidence. This is not a removal spell. No, for in fact, this is a pump spell. Because it turns their measly 1/1s into 4/3s, and this is going to be a surprise when you swing for 6 infect, and then suddenly boom, you see behind the mask. You're like, oh shit! Instead. Well, let's move on to the next one. Benthic Criminologist, a 5-mana 4/5. Already? No. And you need to sacrifice an artifact. I mean, yes, this is an artifact centric. Well, there's artifact synergies in this set because of all of the clue tokens being created, but otherwise, no. There are more efficient ways to do this. Just skip it. Next one, Bubble Smuggler, 2-mana 2/1. Disguise 6, but if it's turned face up, put 4+1/+1 counters on it. That is insane. So it becomes a 6/5. It becomes 6/5 by smuggling bubbles. By the time they notice the missing vials, Glovax was 3 fathoms away. Ooh. Why does it steal bubbles? And where is the Glovax card? I want that. I want that card. I want that card now. But otherwise, no. Just no. I mean, if you have other ways to turn face up, this is a pretty respectable attacker, all things considered. But otherwise, probably more for some janky EDH decks, especially with oh god, I'm blanking hard on her name, but she's definitely the Sultai one that cares about face down creatures, and then she can turn them face up at will. But and then if it's turned face up, this becomes a 6/5. So 2 mana for a 6/5 is, well, 3 mana rather for a 6/5 is an amazing card. But otherwise, in 6-card formats, no. Next, we have Cold Case Cracker, a 4-mana 3/3 Spirit Detective. When Cold Case Cracker dies, investigate. No, just no. It's a death trigger, and while yes, a 4-mana 3/3 that flies, it's something, but otherwise in Pauper, definitely no. Next, we have Crime Stopper Sprite, a 3-mana 2/2. As soon as it costs cast a spell, you may collect evidence 6. So when it enters the battlefield, tap target creature, and then you put a stun count on it if you collected evidence. It doesn't have flash, so no. And collect evidence 6. We could have done more, and if you could fill up your graveyard really fast, this could do something. And from what I've seen, unfortunately, stun counters didn't really make too much of it, didn't make a splash at all in Pauper. So why put a stun counter on them when you can just just straight up remove them? Next, we have Deduce, 2 mana, draw a card, investigate. Yeah, this really goddamn good. Holy shit, it's a cantrip, and even leaves an addition. If you still don't find what you need, just use the clue token, which is like very flavorful, honestly, all things considered. Proft lit up like a man who had just been handed a glorious and unexpected gift. I know who's responsible for this, he said, and I can prove it. Yes, Daddy Proft. Yes, I will call him Daddy Proft from this point onward, because he is indeed a daddy. But we're going to now go into dramatic accusation. Oh no, the Trostani sisters, they are arguing amongst themselves. Enchantment Aura. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature. Okay, and then shuffle what the fuck? Shuffle the enchanted creature into its owner's library? Really? So this is repeatable removal-ish, but if you can, somehow return it to your hand. But otherwise, this is good removal for the draft environment, but for EDH, I can definitely see this being broken well, not exactly broken, but very powerful somewhere. But I'm not sure where, but definitely keep an eye out for this one. If you're budget-minded and you're looking for removal in EDH, you can definitely give this one a go. Next, we have Hotshot Investigator, 6 mana 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. If you controlled it, investigate. So by sacrificing one of your creatures, you will investigate and you will exchange whatever that was for a 6 mana 4/4. No, they always think they're better than the local investigators. They're usually right, but unfortunately, it's not Gucci at all. Just no, 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 not at all. But we want the next one with the Jaded Analyst, a 2 mana 3/2 with Defender. Wow, that is quite the stat line. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Jaded Analyst loses Defender and gains Vigilance. Oh, good. Another case with too many victims and not enough clues. Well, that does sound like something a Jaded Analyst would say, but that is a goddamn good line of text. If you draw a second card, good God, there is a lot. This is goddamn good support for Arcades. And if you've seen the Hull Clade, or rather that experiment from the Hull Clade, I believe, it's the mythic, the Simic mythic from this set, and that card is amazing for Arcades, and this could go in it, just as an additional attacker, but we may not see this in 60 card formats, but keep an eye out for it at the very least. Up next, we have Out Cold. This spell can't be countered. Tap already. The moment I saw stun counters, this is definitely something for the draft deck, but otherwise for 60 card formats, no. We'll get their statements after they defrost. Vika of the Foundway Associates. No, that is not how you get their statements. There's definitely better ways to go about this, guys. Come on. Let's move on. The next one, Projector Inspector, a 3 mana 3/2. When it or another detective enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever a detective you control is turned face up, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So this is definitely a build around, and there are a lot of detectives that I've seen so far. So yeah, Fairy Detective, Human Detective, Vidalcan Detective. So Detective is a creature type in the set, and you will definitely build around this one as a way to loot through your deck. Holy shit. I believe detectives are a supported archetype in this draft environment, so this definitely is something to look out for well, your draft deck, especially if you're going to build around detectives. But otherwise, 60 card formats, it's definitely a very tough sell. Let's move on to the next one. Beyond Reasonable Doubt. Well, it's just Reasonable Doubt, but you get the idea. So 2 mana instant, counter target spell unless it's controlled base 2. Okay, that like baseline, good enough. But suspect up to 1 target creature. A suspected creature has menace, but it cannot block. Oh no. Merle had the motive, but Blavinak was the one caught with the Werner weapon. And who was the 7-foot tall hooded figure? This case is a mess. I really thought it was just going to say find out next week on Dragon Ball Z, but okay, sure. So 2 mana counter target spell on this controller phase 2 is a very popular counter spell in certain formats. But here in Pauper, where you have access to actual factual counterspell, I'm not quite sure you would want this, but suspect a creature. I mean, any creature at that, but it can't block, so this is definitely something for the Dimir Terror decks to have to basically make their snakes unblockable like holy fucking shit, as if they needed any more help. Please stop giving Dimir Terror any more help, please, God. Up next, we have Unauthorized Exit. Instant, return target. It's a bounce spell. And then Surveil 1. So, yeah. I mean, these two cards, side by side, they go hand in hand for the Dimir Terror deck. Like, what the fuck? Oh my god. Proft had never been a by-the-book investigator, but even he never expected to find himself breaking a notorious assassin out of a maximum security Azorius holding cell. Kaya was arrested by the Azorius? What the fuck? I really need to read the story sooner or later. Like, holy shit. But let's move on now to the black cards. Agency Coroner. 5 mana 3/6. That is overcosted. Sacrifice another creature, draw a card. If the sacrificed creature was suspected, draw 2 cards instead. So this is a build around for the draft environment, but otherwise, no. Just no. There are way better ways to go about this, good sir. Next, we have Ally Assailant, a 3 mana 3/3, enters the battlefield tapped. If it's turned face up, target opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So if you squint hard enough, this is another variant of Vampire Sovereign, but that one is just 5 mana straight up and then you Siege Rhino your opponent. This needs a little more setup, but no. If there's a way to turn this guy like face up immediately without having to pay the disguise cost, no, definitely no. Definitely no. Let's just move on to the next one. We have Basilica Stalker, a 6 mana 3/4 with flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you gain 1 life and you surveil 1. So, this is definitely curve topper for draft environment, but otherwise, no, maybe for Pauper. But otherwise, definitely a hard sell. 6 mana is a lot, and it dies to cast down, which is like the removal spell in black. So, definitely no. Next, we have Cerebral Confiscation, a 3 mana sorcery. Target opponent discards 2 cards, or you can just choose a card and then discard. So, no. Just no, 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 no. We move on to the next one. Extract a Confession. As an initial cost to cast this sorcery, you may collect evidence 6. Each opponent sacrifices a creature if evidence was collected. Instead, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. Honestly, you don't even need to collect evidence. This is just an edict. This is just another edict for the Demir Terror decks or for any Black X deck in the format right now. This is just another edict, although it can be countered. And collect evidence 6 is just, icing on the top. There's just additional gravy on the side. But otherwise, it's an edict. What more could you want? Collect evidence 6 is insane. And it basically skirts around certain things, especially if you're facing off against Demir Terror and you have a Tolarian Terror that has been buffed up to become a 6/6 by having Unexpected Fangs clipped onto it. But it's a sorcery, so that definitely knocks it down a few points. Next, we have Macabre Reconstruction, a sorcery. This spell costs 2 less to cast if a creature was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. So this is a 2 mana regrowth effect for 2 creatures. So, yeah. And of note, it only checks if any creature was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn. So, Dredge decks, this is something to look forward to. It's an insane card. But it could just be skin deep. But otherwise, probably not. Murder. I mean, yeah. Why could you have a set about murder at Karlov Manor, not have the card murder? Again, Fatal Push should have been in the Streets of New Capenna set because Obnixis literally did that to Xander. But instead, we got murder in that set instead. So, give and take. Next, we have Repeat Offender. For 2 in the black, if Repeat Offender is suspected, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Otherwise, suspect it. Okay, cool. So this is a repeatable way to make Repeat Offender. Basically, if you have infinite mana, you can make Repeat Offender infinitely big. But and it will also have Menace, so it's definitely It's definitely a win con of sorts, a really good mana sink. And Menace is very, very hard to deal with in draft environments, but for Pauper, it dies to cast down and plenty of other removal spells, so definitely not. Next, we have Rot Farm Mortipede, a 4 mana 3/4. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, it gets +1/+0 and gains menace until end of turn. This is an extremely good piece of art, but good God, is it gross. I don't want to know where that mouth is going, okay? Every week, the Necropsy Lab's unclaimed bodies are transferred to the Golgari for quote-unquote recycling. Oh no. Up next, we have Slice from the Shadows, an X spell. The spell can't be countered. Already a great start there. And target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. This is an insane removal spell, and why have I not heard word about this card? This is an extremely good removal spell. Like, what the fuck? It can't be countered. This includes by the see, it even includes in the parentheses. This includes by the ward ability. They know. They fucking know. Oh my god. Oh, mono black control players are extremely happy right now. Hell, this can even be slotted into the mirror terror. A lot of black X. I mean, there aren't a lot of black X decks right now, but this, if you're not happy with the removal suite that the Pauper format has right now, this is something else to add to the fucking arsenal. Come on to the next one. We have Snarling Gorehound, a 1 mana 1/1 with Menace. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under control, surveil 1. Oh, the good doggo just digging up for his master. I'd offer your dog a treat, but I'm afraid I don't have any appendages to spare. That is. What the fuck? Oh my god, it's Prof talking to Judith. What the? Oh my god. So this is in Judith's Karnar. This is in Rakdos territory. Holy shit. It's a good doggo, 1 mana 1/1 with menace, so it's hard to block for the first few turns in the draft environment. But I can definitely see this seeing play somewhere in the Pauper format, but probably only in the more fringe decks. But otherwise, definitely you definitely keep an eye for this good doggo right here. I mean, it's probably a good doggo. I mean, if Judith can keep this doggo around, I'm pretty sure anyone else can. Next, we have Toxin Analysis, a 1 mana instant. Again, the obligatory black spell that grants certain keywords, but this one has Investigate attached to it. So it's something, but maybe not. If only for the Investigate alone, but otherwise, no. I'm lukewarm on it. Up next, we have Unscrupulous Agent, a 2 mana 1/1 elf detective. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles a card from their hand. No. Oh, excuse me. There are better ways to go about this. Otherwise, no. No. Just no, just no. Next, we have Demand Answers by Aurelia herself. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact, or discard a card. Draw 2 cards. So, more ways to fill the graveyard, which is honestly really good. Instant speed tormenting voice has always been like way better and will always be welcome in both in graveyard centric decks. Hell, Pauper will definitely see this. Hell, Grixis Affinity is a deck that simply refuses to die, and if they can cash in their worthless artifacts for something more useful, they will find a way. Okay, Grixis Affinity always finds a fucking way, and Demand Answers might just be what you need. After the attempt on Aurelia's life, she gave the agency an ultimatum: solve the case in 24 hours, or the Boros Legion would declare war on the cult of Rakdos. And with a body like that, good God, why would you not fall to your knees and start praying to Mommy Aurelia? Next, we have Felonious Rage, a 2 mana instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 and haste until end of turn, and when that creature dies, create a detective. So, yeah, this is another one of those cards where it's from the point of view of somebody who is about to die from a really, really angry Minotaur. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is, I mean, more for draft than anything else, but otherwise, no. Next, we have Galvanize, a 2 mana instant, deal 3 damage to target creature. Lightning Strike sees play in standard, so this will probably see play there. If you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn, Galvanize deals 5 damage instead. So, yes, I like this card, and it's more for the slower decks in the format. But Lightning Strike sees play in Standard, hell, even in Pioneer, because Lightning Bolt is not legal and has not been legalized in Standard, recent Standard. But I can definitely see this seeing play somewhere in a moderate amount of capacity at the very most, but that's me being optimistic. Otherwise, it's more of a fringe thing. Next, we have Gearbane Orangutan, the angriest monkey you have ever did see. Oh my god. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Destroy it with 1 target artifact. Already nice. Sacrifice an artifact. If you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So it becomes a 4/4. This is goddamn good. Holy shit. And it wins Surprise Reach award. The Surprise Reach. Why does this ape have reach? I don't know why, but it's probably because it will block Thopters until like there's no goddamn tomorrow. So this definitely gets a thumbs up for me, but where will it see play? I have no fucking idea. But it will definitely see play somewhere because it destroys an artifact. So there's that, and if you can make it bigger, it's a very, very menacing attacker. Next, we have Goblin Mask Maker, a 1 mana 1/2. When it attacks, face down spells you cast this turn cost 1 less to cast. So they become proper morph creatures. And this guy definitely supports the entire morph strategy that this set's going to have. So definitely good for the draft environment, but otherwise in proper Pauper, probably not. Next we have Innocent Bystander, a 2 mana 2/1. When it's dealt 3 or more damage, investigate. So basically you need to kill it. Whoops, this isn't my street. Don't worry, don't mind me. I'll just be on my way while you enjoy your very sharp knives. You wandered into Rakdos territory and you expected to live. How dare you? Let's just move on to the next one. We have Offender at Large, a giant rogue. Why would you be a giant and a rogue at the same time? Who the fuck knows? So it's another disguised creature. When it enters the battlefield or is turned face up to one target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. In a city this big, anyone can blend in. Right. Not when you're a giant. Right. No. Just no. Next, we have Person of Interest, a 4 mana 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, suspect it. And then as a separate sentence, by the way, create a 2/2 white and create a detective token. So, a 3 mana 2/2 with menace, but it cannot block is something for the draft environment, but otherwise, no. Next, we have Red Herring. Definitely a red herring. It's probably a trap, but there are probably better clues out there. Definitely a red herring. We'll move on to the next one. This is definitely very, very sus. Next, we have Rubblebelt Bragot, a 5 mana 5/5. When it attacks, if it's not suspected, you may suspect it. No, I don't suspect it at all. He is totally a nice guy that will bake you a Sunday pie on a weekly basis. And Shock reprinted. Cool. I mean, yeah. If mono red burn is a thing in standard, I mean, yeah, Shock is definitely the way to go. So yeah, good. I did it. Triple homicide in the building I set on fire. Yep, all me. Yep, yeah, you may suspect it, so he probably didn't do it at all. And then the flavor text for Shock, she realized that she could not, in fact, handle the truth, and she died for it. Well, good luck with that. Next, we have Suspicious Detonation, a 5 mana sorcery. This spell costs 3 less to cast. If you sacrifice an artifact this turn, it can't be countered, and it deals 4 damage to target creature. So you need to have sacrificed an artifact for it to only cost 2 mana, and then it can't be countered so that you can deal 4 damage to something. So this is something you could keep in mind, but it's the setup is, for me at the very least, it's a bit much. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but will probably not catch on. Next, we have The Chase is On. So typical, investigative detective movie kind of vibes going on here with Etrata and Kaya running away from the authorities. Target creature gets +3/+0 and first strike until end of turn, and then you investigate. Etrata evaded the Boros Arresters and Azorius Law Mages, but not even a Master Assassin could give Kaya the slip. I mean, if there's one thing Kaya's good at, it's chasing her target. I mean, she was a former assassin for the Orsov. Now she's doing her own thing. Definitely a very flavorful card, but 3 mana for that effect is a bit much. If it were 2 mana, I would probably accept it more. Next, we have Airtight Alibi, a 3 mana aura with flash. When it enters the battlefield, untap enchanted creature. It gains hexproof until end of turn. If it's suspected, it's no longer suspected. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and cannot be suspected. So yeah, I mean, he does have an airtight alibi right then and there. So yeah, he could do no harm. Totally not a lawbreaker and whatnot. Next, we have Bite Down on Crime, which is a 4 mana sorcery with Collect Evidence 6. This spell costs 2 less to cast if evidence was already collected. Or rather, if evidence was collected. So it becomes a 2 mana spell and the obligatory fight spell. Yeah, the green fight spell that it's ever present in any and all draft environments. No, definitely no. Although, going back to Airtight Alibi, to give the target creature hexproof, Tamio Safekeeping exists, and that only costs 1 mana, so definitely no. Next, we have Fanatical Strength, a 2 mana instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. What is this? An ambush or a staring contest? Kaya taunted, and as if in answer, the robed figure lunged forward. Yep, That is definitely something to avoid. And it's Selesnya colors. Oh boy, that is definitely something. The trample definitely helps. This will see play somewhere. I just don't know where, but probably will not see play at all, given how good the removal suite is in the Pauper format. But let's keep going here. We have Loxodon Eavesdropper. When enters the battlefield, investigate, and then whenever you draw your second card each turn, it gets +1/+1 and vigilance until end of turn. He is all ears. Well, he only has two, but he can definitely hear a lot. Otherwise, definitely no. Next, we have Nervous Gardener, a 2-mana 2/2, so a Grizzly Bear. When it's turned face up, search the library for a land card with a basic land type, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Note that it searches for a card with a basic land type. So this will get your dual lands, and that is insane. And it's also really, really cheap to disguise as well. So if you have a way to repeatedly turn this face up and face down, so this is definitely going to go in that morph deck in EDH as a way to repeatedly ramp yourself. That is insane. Okay. Next, we have Pick Your Poison, a sorcery where you choose one. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact, each opponent sacrifices an enchantment, or each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. Now, there's this 1-mana sorcery in green where your opponent has to sacrifice a creature with flying, and a lot of legacy decks use that to basically have a way to kill Marat Lage in case they don't have Swords to Plowshares. This has that same energy, but it also has upside of the being able to sacrifice an artifact or enchantment. Now, that card is used specifically only for that purpose. It's extremely narrow, and so is this. It's extremely narrow, and I don't know if it will see play anywhere in Pauper. Next, we have Rubble Belt Maverick, a 1-mana 1/1. When enters battlefield, Surveil 2. So already up to a good start there. Exile it from your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. So this definitely is really good for setting up your graveyard, because Surveil 2 is pretty goddamn deep, honestly. But otherwise, it may see play somewhere because there are a lot of graveyard-based decks in Pauper, but otherwise, probably not. Next, we have Slime Against Humanity. I'm surprised that this doesn't contain any profanity on it, and I don't know if I should even censor this card because it is a Slime Against Humanity. And it's another card that goes in the long lineage of cards where you can have any number of it into the deck. And Eve players, or Eve, however you pronounce that name, they're going to be very happy about this card because if Avis in the deck and then you put it onto the battlefield, it just becomes so freaking large, like holy shit. But let's just move on to the next page right here, and we are almost done. Next we have They Went This Away. 3-mana sorcery, search a library for a basic land, put it on the field, then shuffle. So for 3 mana, you search a land and you investigate at the same time. Rampant Growth does that, but that card is way more efficient. So no. Next, we have Topiary Panther. So, as if the Topiary T-Rex was not enough in the last set, now we have a Panther that does the thing. Basic land cycling. So, search for a basic land card, you put it into your hand, and then you shuffle. So, this is graveyard setup, and it does have trample. So, it has that going for it. But the gardens around Karlov Manor are oddly bereft of birdsong. Yes, because you have a gargoyle, essentially, a plant gargoyle. So, oh my god. Next, we have Tunnel Tipster, a very cute mole scout. At the beginning of your end step, if face down creature enter the battlefield under your control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on, and it's a mana dork. Ooh, this definitely going into the disguise deck, the draft environment that this set has, but otherwise, probably not in Pauper. But let's see what the next card holds. We have Vengeful Creeper, a 5-mana 5/5 with disguise 6. When it's turned face up, destroy target artifact or enchantment and opponent controls. Already extremely overcosted, so no. Next, we have Vitu Ghazi Inspector, a 2-mana 1/3 that has collect evidence. When it enters the battlefield, if evidence was collected, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and you gain 2 life. And she is up on a tree, so I can understand why she has reach. But the orangutan earlier, I don't understand why he has reach. And finally, Oh my god, for the longest time, we weren't getting any new multicolored cards for Pauper. Well, now we're back in Ravnica, we will be getting them again. Alright, so we're gonna see what we have here. First, we have Granite Witness, which is a proper gargoyle detective, and has for 4 mana 3/2 with flying and vigilance. So already great start. Um, then it has Disguise. So yeah, turn it face up anytime. So for 5 mana, you can tap or untap a target creature, and this is an insane card. When I'm looking at it now, but it may be a little too clunky because it's only a combat. It's essentially just a very efficient combat trick, because if you turn it face up, excuse me, you can do the Yu-Gi-Oh thing where I set this monster face down, and then suddenly your opponent actually goes, I activate my trap card, but it's a monster instead, and then you will be called by a judge for cheating, because why did you put a monster in the spell trap zone? Why are you playing Infernities of all things in the year 2024? But that's a completely different story. This seems good in paper, but in practice probably is a little too clunky. Next, we have Fairy Snoop, a 3 mana 1/4 with flying and disguise 3. And when it's turned face up, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So it digs deeper, and it's a fairly sizable toughness stat. So I could see this seeing play somewhere, and it starts off as a 2/2 with Ward 2, so it's something to keep in mind. So basically, for 6 mana, you have a way to filter the top 2 cards of your library. So it's something, but I don't know if it will actually see play. So let's move on to the next one. We have Shady Informant, a Rakdos ogre. When it dies, deal 2 damage to any target, and it even has Disguise. Rakdos snitches rarely survive to get the stitches. Oh dear. So snitches get the stitches, yes, but in Rakdos, no, they're dead. They're just dead. Next, we have Rift Burst Hellion, a 6 mana 6/7 with reach, and that's Disguise. That's it. It's just a big beater. What more could you want? Like any Ravnican citizen, it decided to visit Plaza West for lunch. Wow, that is that is horrifying when you think about it. Let's move on to the next one. We have Crowd Control Warden, a 5 mana 4/4. When it's a battlefield or turn face up, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of creatures you control. So this is definitely a finisher for the draft deck. But only for the draft deck. This is way too slow, because it could die before it's even turned face up in the Pauper format. So no, it's fun it will be very, very fun if you manage to pull it off in the draft environment, but in Pauper, definitely not. Next, we have Sanguine Savior, a 3 mana 2/1 with flying and lifelink. When it's turned face up, another target creature control gains lifelink. Just lifelink, not even flying. I mean, the stats are good. I mean, same with Fairy Snoop here. The stats are decent. This is a good attacker in the air because it flies and has lifelink. So maybe, but otherwise probably not. But who knows? Let's move on to the next one. We have Gadget Technician, a 4 mana 3/2. When it enters the battlefield or is turned face up, create a Thopter. Ah, so this is what the orangutan is for. To get rid of these goddamn Thopters. The disguise cost is nothing to sneeze at either. It's only 2 mana. And the last couple of disguise costs are relatively cheap, except for the Hellion, which is like 6 mana to flip it face up. But otherwise, probably not. Next we have Rakish Scoundrel, or Rakish. I'm not sure how to pronounce that word. A 4 mana 3/3 with Death Touch. If it enters the battlefield or start face up, target creature gets indestructible until end of turn. So it could be this very creature itself, because it just says target creature. But otherwise, probably not. It could be a surprise blocker if you have 6 mana for it, but a little too overcosted now that I think about it. So probably pass on this one. Next, we have Dog Walker, another card that I have heard hubbub about because for reasons that I do not know personally, because I haven't actually read this card. Let's see what it does. So for 2 mana for a 3/1, already great start. With Vigilance, already even better. And when it's turned face up, create 2 tapped 1/1 white dog creature tokens. So this populates the board with a lot of shit. And as if Boros decks didn't need any more help, Boros decks are going to be very happy to have this added into their repertoire. But where exactly on the curve will it fit? Who the hell knows? I don't exactly play the deck myself. I am probably playing more elves now than the Jund initiative that I used to run so much way back when. But the format has gotten a lot faster now, and the you basically need to answer your opponent quickly, or you yourself will need to present problems that your opponent will need to answer very, very quickly. And elves are the way to go. So Jet Initiative has been put in the sidelines for now, and you have Dog Walker here. Next, we have Undercover Crocodile. What the fuck? 6 mana for a 5/5, so already off to a rough start. And when it deals combat damage to a player, investigate. And then the disguise cost is 5 mana, so it's still like extremely expensive. So I don't no, just no, just no. Next, we have Gravestone Strider, which is a piece of art that is ripped straight out of Elden Ring, and I already can tell that some of you Soulsborne players are like dreading to know what this guy's attack patterns are and what animation cancels you're going to need. But otherwise, look at the stats. Exiled from the graveyard, no, this is a little too much, even for me. Like, there are far more efficient ways to deal with the graveyard, so no. The empty graves grew tired of waiting for bodies to fill them and set out to make some. That is a problem, sir. You need to take that out pronto. Next, we have Magnifying Glass, a 3 mana artifact where you either add a colorless mana or 4 mana investigate. So this is a really good mana sink for the draft environment. If you can't do anything else, just create a clue token. So basically 6 mana to draw a card. But otherwise, this is definitely something for draft, but otherwise, probably not for the Pauper format. Next, we have Sanitation Automaton. So we have a vacuum cleaner roaming about in the halls of the Azorius Senate, cleaning up loose scrolls along the way. When it enters the battlefield, surveil 1. I am once again bursting with discarded theories. Disposal imminent. Oh my god. And it's not attributed to anyone, so it's the robot. It's the automaton talking. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's funny, but probably not. And finally, we have Thinking Cap. It gives a creature +1/+2, and it equips the detective for 1 mana. I find that my greatest insights rarely arrive when my ears are cold. Senior Inspector Holio. No, just no. So, what do we learn? Well, oh right. This one, Escape Tunnel. This card, I can definitely see this being used in Pauper Infect. Because a lot of creatures in that deck, have only power 2 or less. So if you're an Infect player and it's basically like a combo deck now, where you have like a bunch of mana loosely set on board, and then you attack with a measly 1/1, and then your opponent declares no blocks, and then now it will be a fight on the stack where it's just one spell after the other and trying to get to 10 infect, like right then and there, like holy shit. Then Public Thoroughfare is another line of like Rupture Spire style effects where it enters tapped unless you sacrifice something, and this one asks you to sacrifice an untapped artifact or land. So a bit much, but otherwise it's mana fixing, yes. But Escape Tunnel is like the better non-basic land here. So yeah, they were right. There aren't too many exciting things to see here in Murders at Karlov Manor, and there are only like 86 commons, which is not a lot. Considering that this is the set where WotC has shifted more into play boosters now, basically making set boosters and draft boosters defunct. They basically combine the two now, and you can now just buy play boosters, because what they did from Zendikar Rising until basically the previous set, they had set boosters, draft boosters, collector boosters, and it confused the ever living crap out of a lot of people. And people, more often than not, end up buying set boosters instead because there's more value there than just buying the regular old draft boosters. And There are only a small handful of cards, honestly, that are worth looking out for. Like Slice from the Shadows is a really good one. Snarling Gorehound is really good for setting up the graveyard, and in mono black control, you have a lot of creatures that enter the battlefield anyways. It may see play because it's a 1 mana 1/1 with menace, and it definitely demands answers like pronto. But otherwise, red herring is a red herring. Don't believe in this card. Of course, if you detect my sarcasm there, because it's called red herring. Of course, you're not supposed to take it seriously. But otherwise, this is a really goddamn good card. Otherwise, there are only really few items to be. There are only items, not items, but there are only really few cards to be excited about. But this is every Jank ADH player builder's dream. There will be people who will be trying to break this as much as possible. But otherwise, yeah, that will be all for Murders at Karlov Manor. And will the case be closed? Well, yes, it was. But will it be closed on the Pauper format? Who knows? The cards are pre-release is now done. People have gotten a taste for what the cards do, and we will now see what the effect of this set we will see the effect of this set in a month or two, somewhere down the line. So, if you guys like what you saw, hit like, comment, subscribe, and share this among your friends. And until next time, toodles.